and Namaskar. My name is Madhu Kakar. I am a student of Masters of Science in Vedas and Vedic Wisdom, and my PRN number is 22110208. And the topic of my project is Modern Medicine and Ayurveda, Integrative Modalities, Research Realities, and Molecular Mechanisms. First, I'll talk about why I chose this topic. Well, I've always been interested in natural healing processes, genetics, inherited traits of a person, and why an individual is born with, sometimes born with deformities or illnesses to normal parents. In the West, it is believed that this is because of our sins. But whose sins? The parents or the offspring who is being born? It's very confusing. Then recently I came upon a book named Genome to Om by Bhushan Patwardhan and Indu Ramchandani. I found it very interesting, and I thought of studying the topics that it had raised in the book. I thought of studying them further. And to compare the Western medical system to the ancient Ayurvedic system of ours. My focus was on the following points. Can DNA be modified by breathing, mantras, consciousness, and lifestyle? And the science behind chanting. Are genetics and epigenetics quietly validating ancient Vedic wisdom? Is Ayurveda the future of medicine? Modern medicine versus Ayurveda, a research reality. In the book which I read, Genome to Om, the author has made a beautiful comparison between the genome and Om. He cites the example of the Shanti mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad, which is Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamaduchyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This means that Om, the outer world, is complete with divine consciousness. The inner world is also complete with divine self-consciousness. From the completeness of consciousness, the world is manifested. Taking a part away from the whole, what is taken and what remains is also complete, because universal consciousness is infinite. Peace, peace, peace. This mantra emphasizes the idea of non-duality. They both, the self and universal consciousness, are seen as aspects of the same ultimate reality. It also suggests that true peace can be found by understanding the underlying unity. And the genome also has a similar definition. So genome is also complete, and if we remove a part from it, both what remains and what is removed can regain completeness. So Ayurveda and yoga are increasingly recognized as key players in the future of integrative healthcare, while modern medicine excels at acute trauma, emergency, core diagnostics, and targeted biopharmaceuticals. Traditional systems like Ayurveda offer valuable framework for long-term lifestyle management of diseases, prevention of diseases, and personalized wellness. Modern medicine targets the symptoms using standardized protocols and fast-acting pharmaceuticals, while Ayurveda focuses on the root cause of the symptoms and the ailment. Its treatment is highly personalized mind-body connection, balance, dosh balance and all are considered. Ayurveda also stresses on sustainable daily health, that is dincharya, and preventing diseases before they manifest. Modern healthcare systems globally are overwhelmed by lifestyle related chronic conditions, example type 2 diabetes, hypertension, stress, autoimmune issues. Modern medicine often manages these conditions with lifelong medication, whereas Ayurveda and yoga focus on habit, diet, stress reduction to prevent or reverse the conditions or diseases. Mind-body integration, yoga and pranayam, that is breath work, are widely supported by modern neuroscience and cardiology for reducing cortisol and BP and improving vagal tone and mental health. Personalized medicine. Modern medicine is moving towards precision medicine based on genetics. Ayurveda has practiced personalized care for thousands of years by tailoring treatments, diets, and routines to an individual's unique constitution, his prakriti. Validation through modern science. Field integration such as Ayurgenomics studies how Ayurvedic constitutional types correlate with genomic variations, bridging ancient concepts. Modern medicine has yielded unprecedented diagnostic precision and life-saving pharmaceutical drugs. However, this target-specific one-size-fits-all paradigm faces severe limitations when confronted with the global rise of chronic, non-communicable and lifestyle-driven conditions such as metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disorders, and autoimmune dysfunction. Modern management of these diseases often relies on suppression rather than the root cause remediation, generating escalating healthcare costs and therapeutic dead ends. Genetics reveals that while an individual DNA sequence genotype remains largely fixed throughout life, gene expression, that is phenotype, is fluid, malleable, and continuously remodeled by environmental inputs, nutritional habits, environmental exposure, circadian alignment, physiological stress, epigenetic mechanisms, including DNA methylation, histone modification, chromatin remodeling. All these act as molecular bridges that translate external experiences into internal physiological outcomes. This paradigm shift aligns closely with ancient Ayurvedic system. The Ayurvedic system has long prioritized lifestyle, mind-body interactions, and personal constitution over isolated disease entities. Chief among them is our traditional Vedic system of medicine, which posits that health is a dynamic equilibrium of physiological energies, tridosh, metabolic processes, agni, structural tissues, that is, and doshas, and sensory mental well-being. Historically, mainstream modern medicine dismisses Ayurvedic concepts as unscientific and untestable. Today, emerging disciplines like Ayurveda, Ayurgenomics demonstrate that Ayurvedic constitutional phenotypes Vata, Pitta, Kapha exhibit distinct gene expression, DNA methylation processes, and biochemical profiles. Epigenetics offers a rigorous molecular language capable of decoding ancient non-pharmacological modalities, alter gene expression to maintain health or induce disease remission. Core mechanisms of epigenetics. Chromosomes are thread-like structures made of nucleic acid. They are called DNA, and proteins that carry genetic information in the form of genes. They serve as the fundamental instructional manual that dictate how an organism grows, develops, and functions. DNA is the primary molecule carrying genetic instructions for functioning, development, and reproduction of living organisms. It acts as a biological blueprint directing cells on how to build proteins. Epigenetics is the study of how our behavior and environment can cause changes that affect how our genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes do not alter our basic DNA sequence. Instead, they act like chemical switches that turn genes on or off, deciding which proteins your cells make. The different version of a single gene is called allele. Earlier, it was thought that everyone has two alleles, one from each parent, but now it is known that there are a number of them, sometimes 12, 13, or even more. For example, the gene for the eye color has different alleles that code for blue, brown, or green eyes. Each cell of our body stores a DNA record in the nucleus of chemical transactions that it makes of the self from the beginning of the species. That record is transparent, secure, immutable, and on this method only the blockchain technology used in bitcoins is based. So the DNA structure behaves as a fractal antenna which can interact with the electromagnetic fields over a wide range of frequency, and fractal antenna are an array of antenna that is tuned to a broad spectrum of information, small level mirroring with the larger level. DNA, neurons, cell membrane, all are antennas. Out of the many traits that we possess, some are because of our DNA, while the others are influenced by our environment. If a person has criminal tendencies, these could be depending on because of their DNA, while depression or preference for a certain political party, they are all influenced by environment. Now, if you take an example of two identical twins who are brought up in the same home, their nature and nurture are the same, yet any parent can quickly point out differences between the twins. They have different preferences for food. They may have different aptitude for sports or music or dance, and sometimes there are health differences also. One of the twins could develop autism, asthma, or bipolar disorder. So how does one explain this when the DNA is the same for the twins and the home environment is also the same? How does this happen? Some of these differences can be explained by a very powerful influences on our life besides nature and nurture, and that is epigenetics. Of the 50 trillion cells in our body, each one contains about 6 feet DNA. And the DNA is wrapped around histones. They are clusters of proteins. They are like molecular spools. And there are about 30 million of these spools in each of our cell. The combination of DNA and histones is called chromatin. Chromatin solves the packaging problem. The functional units in DNA are the genes. These are the instructions for the cells, They tell the cells what to do, what to become. These genes are tightly compacted in a chromatid structure. Epigenetic marks are small chemical tags which sit down on our chromatin and can help instruct it whether to compact or decompact. Instructions can then affect how the cells read genes encoded in DNA. Some epigenetic marks can help condense chromatins. If they do this, they obscure the underlying genes, preventing the cell from being able to read them. They turn these genes off. Other genetic marks can help decondense the chromatin, and when they do this, the gene becomes accessible to the cell, it can read it, and it turns it on. These types of genetic marks are profoundly influential to our body. Epigenetics studies how food and lifestyle can turn genes on or off without changing the DNA. Nutrients can act as chemical signals that modify how tightly DNA is packaged or tagged, determining which protein your cells make and influencing your overall health and disease risk. Key mechanisms through which food talks to our genes. DNA methylation. Nutrients provide chemical tags, the methyl groups, that silence or turn off specific genes. B vitamins, folate, and choline from leafy greens, eggs, and beans. They help build these tags. Histone modification. Foods change the proteins, the histones, around which the DNA is wrapped, loosening or tightening the spool to make genes easier or hard to read. Bioactive plant compounds like sulforaphane in broccoli or catechins in green tea can loosen tight coils to activate protective genes. Non-coding RNA. Dietary compounds influence regulatory molecules that control how genetic messages are translated into action. The Vedic principles on food and gene expression. Food, ahar, is as an information for the body. When it gets digested, it breaks down to nourish body tissues, the dhatus, acting as an ongoing signal that either maintains harmony or triggers disease pathways. The next is individual constitution, the Prakriti. Vedic science emphasizes personalized diet according to one's Prakriti, quality of consciousness. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Food influences the mind and subtle body depending on the presence of these three doshas in the body. Incompatible combinations, Virudh Ahar. When such foods are mixed, they confuse the system and create problems. Biological modulators, Rasayan. Specific rejuvenating herbs and foods such as turmeric and ashwagandha act over time to restore rhythmic balance and normalize genetic stress response. Epigenetic marks can be influenced by the environment, which includes the surrounding cells as well as the environment outside of the developing embryo. The food, prenatal vitamins, stress, all these can be transmitted as chemical signals through the mother's bloodstream to the developing fetus. They can get laid down as epigenetic marks that affect the fetus's own genes. This was shown experimentally in mice. Mice have a gene called agouti, which makes them obese, yellow, and susceptible to diseases like cancer. So the gene can be passed down from generation to generation through DNA. So the mother would give birth to a fat yellow offspring who has the agouti gene. This agouti gene can be turned off if silencing epigenetic marks accumulate around it. So if a pregnant mother is fed a diet which is supplemented with these silencing epigenetic marks, these marks will begin to get off. When these marks accumulate around the gene and effectively turn it off, the embryo will maintain these marks. It will be born to grow up to be thin, brown, and healthy. Even though mother is genetically identical at the DNA level to both set of offsprings, it is seen that the diet she consumed during her pregnancy has affected her offspring. It has been seen that women who don't eat well during pregnancy or who eat bad foods will have children who are susceptible to develop obesity and cardiovascular disease. If they smoke during pregnancy, the children will grow up with chances of developing asthma. These changes correlate to epigenetics. Genetic marks can be transmitted to multiple generations, so lifestyle changes can affect future generations. But genetic marks are reversible. Scientists are making terrific progress in designing drugs that can reverse toxic epigenetic marks that control certain diseases. They are proving to be quite effective in some cancers which happen due to the apparent epigenetic marks. Psychoneuroimmunology of mind-body processes. Medicines work by traveling through the bloodstream to specific target sites in the body where they bind to cell receptors and interact with enzymes to alter the processes. Many drugs act as a key in a lock. For example, allergy medicines, antihistamines attach to receptors blocking the body's natural allergic reaction from occurring. Enzyme inhibition, certain medicines block the enzyme the body uses to make cholesterol. Cell destruction. Drugs like antibiotics target the protein or cell walls of foreign bacteria, killing them or stopping them from multiplying. So we can say that medicines modulate the receptors in the body to secrete biochemicals which cure us and not the medicine. For healing, the receptors have to be triggered. If this can be done through some other medium like meditation, chanting, etc., then we won't need any medicines. Gurudev Ranadev, an Indian spiritual thinker and scholar associated with Indian philosophy, was suffering from tuberculosis in his last days, but he didn't want to die with the disease. So he cured himself before his death through meditation and pranayama. Mind-body practices like meditation, yoga, and deep breathing reduce stress hormones and inflammation, actively boosting immune resilience and restoring balance to the physical health. A study was conducted to see the effects of chanting on 3 groups. The first group didn't know the meaning or how to chant. They were new to it, but they felt peace, calm, mental balance, union. The second group knew chanting and the meaning, and in that group, gamma waves increased, alpha waves were created. They felt powerful and peaceful. The third group understood the meaning well, chanted with proper intonation and expertise. They showed a shift from the fast-paced beta waves overthinking stress into relaxed alpha and deep meditative theta states. Research shows that mantra chanting balances the right and the left hemisphere of the brain. Ayurvedic lifestyle modalities, Dincharya and Ritucharya. Circadian clock, gene regulation via standardized sleep-wake cycles and meal timings. Dincharya and Ritucharya are foundational Ayurvedic frameworks that synchronize human physiology with natural solar, circadian and seasonal rhythms. Adopting these practices enhances the metabolic function, Agni, balances bioelements, the Tridosh, and enhances immunity, prevents the accumulation of toxins, and that is Ama, and lowers the risk of chronic lifestyle disorders. Epigenetic impact of Ayurvedic dietary regimens, Ahar and herbal compounds. Epigenetic impact, epigenetic validation of ancient Vedic concepts. In Ayurveda, Janma Prakriti means your birth constitution, akin to your genetic blueprint or the genotype, while the Deha Prakriti refers to your physical and functional body constitution, akin to your expressed phenotype, shaped by your life, environment, and aging. Janma Prakriti can be defined as the fixed proportion of doshas, the Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, at conception. Its English equivalent says it is the innate genetic constitution or biological blueprint, the genotype, inherited DNA sequence. It never changes throughout one's life and sets the individual's threshold for metabolic and physiological traits. Deha Prakriti is the physical, somatic constitution. It can be defined as the manifest physical, physiological, and anatomical expression of the body. Its English equivalent states it is the psychosomatic body type or the phenotype. And epigenetic mechanisms. Environmental factors alter the DNA methylation, histone modification, and non-coding RNA expression without altering DNA sequence. It represents your functional baseline, though temporary lifestyle or seasonal imbalances can mask it as Vikriti. The ancient Ayurvedic framework of Prakriti maps closely onto modern genetics and epigenetics. Now we'll take an example of rheumatoid arthritis. The gene HLA-DRB is responsible for causing this ailment. An experiment was conducted to how this gene is connected to the three doshas. The patients of rheumatoid arthritis were divided into three groups as per their doshas, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha group. Their DNA, the gene, was analyzed. Genes have alleles about 12 to 13 in number. They are the different version of the controlling variation and traits. And the way the alleles are distributed decides what a person's Prakriti would be. So it was seen that the distribution alleles was different in all the three doshas. Then there was another study, Shamatha project in 2011. It was a study comprising 30 participants in a 3-month intensive meditation retreat against a matched waitlist group, control group. Key findings were that the meditators showed 30% higher telomere activity in immune cells compared to the control group. So the statistical analysis revealed that meditation enhanced perceived control, mindfulness, and purpose in life, and decreased neuroticism and threat perception. Another short-term study was on meditation in older adults in 2013. It evaluated the effects of Kirtan, a 12-minute daily practice of chanting and mudras, finger movements, and focusing on breath over 8 weeks in family caregivers who were suffering from chronic stress. So the key findings were that the Kirtan group exhibited a 43% increase in telomere activity compared to 3.7% increase in the control group. This shows lengthy retreats are not mandatory. Even short daily 12-minute practice can produce significant cellular shifts in highly stressed individuals. Mindfulness for breast cancer survivors was conducted in 2014. It was found that mindfulness can serve as a protective buffer against accelerated cellular aging during critical clinical recoveries. So, the conclusion: the future of healthcare lies in moving past the binary of tradition versus modern to build a rigorous, evidence informed, integrated paradigm. When modern medicine's diagnostic precision and targeted acute care are paired with Ayurveda's holistic, patient centered lifestyle interventions, the result is a far more robust preventive framework, particularly against the growing global burden of chronic and non communicable diseases. Thank you.